shiver down the spine just being in this magnificent stadium where
Portugal's hopes rest on Cristiano Ronaldo's shoulders.
From World Cup winning goals to Champions League specials, these are the 25 last-minute goals in football history. And first up, Fernando Torres repaid his $50 million price tag in the biggest game of his Chelsea career. 2012, Chelsea vs Barcelona in the Champions League semi-finals was all set to be an epic. Chelsea won the first leg 1-0, but away to the Nou Camp, Barca was already going to make it tough, and just before half-time, they turned it around to make it 2-1 on aggregates. To make it worse, Chelsea was a man down too, but after getting a goal back through Ramirez, it was a question of digging deep and hanging on till the final whistle. With less than 20 minutes to play, Torres came on to help the Blues defend from the front. See, that season, Torres had gotten trolled and abused countless times due to his on and off performances. But all of that didn't matter now, Chelsea only cared about getting to the final. But Barca made it tough until deep into stoppage time. Barca pushed the numbers up front, leaving space at the back. And Torres was in. One-on-one with the goalie, the chance to take Chelsea to the final competition. All he had to do was score, but I'll let Gary Neville do the rest. Goal so good, Gary Neville lost it on live TV. And just like that, Torres became a hero at Chelsea. Crazy how this works, I guess that was karma. I mean, 4 years back, the roles were reversed, and it was Chelsea experiencing that late sinking feeling. The same competition, same stage. This time, the first leg was in the Nou Camp, and the game ended 0-0. Away goals were still a thing, meaning the Barca players knew that if they scored at Chelsea's Stamford Bridge Stadium, Chelsea would have to score too, else they'd be out. Still, Chelsea didn't want to take that chance early, and minutes after kickoff, Michael Essien scored a thunderbolt to put Chelsea in front. After that, the chances kept coming, and honestly it looked like Chelsea would find a way through, but somehow they didn't. And on minute 89, Andres Iniesta made sure they regretted all those missed chances. Clutch! Iniesta's goal sent Barca to the final and knocked Chelsea out. It's like Iniesta does this stuff for a living. He did the same thing a year back on an even bigger stage. Iniesta was part of the Spanish team that made it to the World Cup final against the Netherlands in 2010, and the match was tough. After normal time, the scores were still deadlocked at 0-0. Both teams couldn't be separated, meaning extra time was going to be the case. And with 5 minutes left of this too, penalties looked like a huge possibility. I'd bet both coaches had even started making drafts at who'd take penalties in the shootouts. But all of that never happened because in minute 116, Iniesta made history. That goal was enough to make Spain champions of the world for the first time in their history, and turned Iniesta into a legend too. Scoring a clutch goal in a World Cup final is the perfect opportunity to launch a career. Iniesta became a national hero after 2010, and 4 years later, Mario Götze did the same thing too. In the 2014 final, Argentina and Germany faced off in the Maracana in a tense match. The game, just like 2010, was drawn after 90 minutes. This one too looked like it was going to be a shootout, but minutes before the end, Germany's Joachim Löw decided to make a tactical switch. So he brought in Mario Götze to change the game. It's almost as if Götze had been waiting for his moment all his life, because on the grandest stage, with 6 minutes left to the end, he scored the goal to make Germany champions of the world. There was no way Argentina could come back from that. Mission accomplished. Götze had made Germany champions of the world. Damn, the last time I saw scenes that crazy was when Lucas Moura turned the Ajax players into the Night King's army from GOT. Ajax versus Tottenham in the Champions League semi-finals of 2019, and after winning the first leg 2-0, it was advantage Ajax. With less than 40 minutes to play, Ajax doubled the lead to make it 3, and at that point it seemed like Spurs were down and out until Lucas Moura came in. He scored twice to make it 3-2, and suddenly Spurs had hope again. They just needed one more goal, but Ajax were prepared to defend what they had until Spurs launched one last attack. The ball fell to Dele Alli, who played in Lucas Moura, and I could tell you what happened next, but I'd rather just show you instead. Wow, unbelievable. Look at all the Ajax players falling off. They knew they'd lost it. It's the Champions League, man, stuff of dreams. It's never over in this competition, just like Sergio Ramos showed in 2014. Ramos was part of the Real Madrid team facing Atletico Madrid in the final, and coming into the dying minutes of the game, they were losing. At the time, Madrid hadn't won the competition since 2002. 12 years on, and they had the perfect shot at stealing La Decima. but right before their eyes it looked like they were going to blow it. They had one last corner, seconds before the end. And as Luka Modric whipped it in, Sergio Ramos couldn't have gotten a better header. Legend! Ramos's goal meant Madrid took the game to extra time, and in there they added 3 more to seal a 4-1 win and a Champions League title. Looking back at it, the drama from 2014 was almost the same as the one from 2013. Same stage, the Champions League final, the only difference was, it was Der Klassiker, Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. As the clock ticked 89, the score was 1-1. Mario Mandzukic had given Bayern the lead early, but Ilkay Gundogan had levelled for Dortmund. And with the margins being that tight, it was simple. Anyone who wanted this had to score now or wait till extra time. And after the disappointment from a year back at home, Arjen Robben didn't want to experience the same feeling again, so he made it his mission to find a way for Bayern late on. And it just kind of fell for him because seconds later, he bagged the most important goal of his career. Bayern won it, treble secured, and they became champions of Europe again. Another Champions League final full of drama in the dying stages, just like it was in 2012 when Didier Drogba stunned an entire stadium. When Chelsea made it to the final of the competition that year, it was against the odds. See, the final was being played at the Allianz Arena, Bayern Munich Stadium, and Chelsea's opponents were Bayern Munich. Still, Chelsea put up a good fight, and by that I mean they defended all through until the 83rd minute when Thomas Müller scored to put them in front. And that looked like the game right there. But there was just something about Chelsea that season that showed they'd never give up, especially in the competition. And just when it looked like they were down and out, with less than a minute to play of normal time, King Didier came to the rescue. Bullet header. Chelsea went level and they went on to win it. Damn, looks like Drogba had tapped into some of that Real Madrid Champions League juice years into the competition. When it comes to later goals, especially in the Champions League, it's a Real Madrid specialty. In 2022, they looked out. In fact, they were out. They lost the first leg of the Champions League semi-finals away to Manchester City, and in the second leg, Mahrez put City in front with 17 minutes left to play. Once that clock hit 89, the story was that Madrid needed 2 more goals to qualify. Now, I can't say this without getting goosebumps. They somehow managed to get one, and with seconds left. Amazing! They later won the match 3-1 and advanced to the final. Elite stuff. Told you this was their competition. Truth is, they're still doing it even now. A couple of weeks back, Madrid was in the same situation. They'd drawn the semi-final first leg against Bayern 2-2. Still at home with the clock already showing 90 minutes gone, Bayern had a 1-0 lead at the Bernabeu, and looked like it'd be enough to get them over the line and knock Los Blancos out. Still, it feels like that's the problem. Every time they think they're out, that's when they sort of come alive again. With the tension at maximum capacity, Ancelotti's super sub pulled off another great escape again. The most impossible of comebacks, from the dead to knock Bayern out and send them to the final. I mean, seriously, how do they keep getting away with this stuff? This one seemed impossible. Even the Bayern players couldn't believe they'd given this one away. I know that look on their faces. The QPR players had the same look after Man City did the incredible in 2012. Coming into the last game of the season that year, City was on the verge of making history. They hadn't won the league in over 40 years, and they were on the brink. All they had to do was beat QPR on the final day in front of their fans, and they'd be champions. Well, here's the plot twist. City was losing at home coming into stoppage time. To make it worse, their rivals Manchester United had won their match on the final day, meaning City had to win or else they'd lose out. And after Edin Dzeko scored to give them hope, it was a question of one more. City did everything and kept the pressure coming, but time was running out. Until somehow, against the odds, Sergio Aguero made time stand still and made a commentator go nuts. To this day, that has to be one of the most epic goal celebrations of all time. Aguero! Truth is, City has a knack for always doing this, scoring late goals in stoppage time, especially in title-winning games. Heck, the one from 2022 was peak cinema. This time it was Liverpool City were in a title race with, and it went on to the final day. City knew what they had to do, win and they'd be league champions. But with Liverpool playing at the same time too, the pressure was on. Half-time, and while Liverpool were losing at home, over in Manchester, City were losing 2-0 at home to Villa. In the second half, Liverpool started a comeback, and at that time they thought it'd be enough to take them to the top, as City struggled. But it's City, man, they always find a way. They brought it to 2-1, 2-2, and with 7 minutes left to play, Gundogan sealed the title return to City. Incredible. It'll go down as one of the greatest clutch moments in Premier League history, just like Cole Palmer's moment in the most dramatic game of the season. Chelsea versus Manchester United in the league, and it was close. Chelsea had a 2-0 lead early on, but United turned it around to make it 3-2, and in stoppage time the game literally had 120 seconds left for United to hold on for the win, until a foul in the box allowed Chelsea to get a pen, and Palmer slammed home to make it 3-3. This should have been the result right there, but it wasn't done. Seconds later, and the roof was off Stamford Bridge. Bro scored a brace deep into stoppage time to turn a 3-2 defeat into a 4-3 win. It doesn't get colder than Cole Palmer, but as cold as this is, I'm sorry bro, it isn't topping the time Divock Origi scored a goal so crazy it almost got his manager suspended. In the Merseyside derby of 2018, Liverpool and Everton kept the drama until the dying seconds. The game was being played at Liverpool's Anfield Stadium and the fans were expecting a win. Liverpool had dominated all game. Still, they had nothing to show for it. And after Van Dijk's attempted shot went sky high, it looked like it would be the end. But Divock Origi stuck around waiting for a chance to happen, and against the odds, the ball somehow dropped onto the crossbar. And seconds later, Anfield was going nuts. I don't know which one's crazier, the goal or Jurgen Klopp running into the pitch to celebrate with his goalie. Either way, the moment was insane, and so were the Liverpool players too. I even heard that after the win, the squad stayed back to give the fans a treat by showing them how to subscribe to Mr. Football's content on YouTube. Amazing! Liverpool and late comebacks go way back, like in 2016 when they produced another magical night in Europe. The Europa League semi-finals, and after a 1-1 draw at the Signal Iduna Park, Liverpool came into the second leg at Anfield knowing a win would be enough to take them through. But just 10 minutes in and they were already 2-0 down. They scored one to get the comeback on track, but after Marco Reus scored to make it 3-1, Liverpool were out completely. The problem was, it's Anfield, you can never write them off there. They always find a way to make the impossible happen. Coutinho and Sakho scored to make it 3-3, but away goals were still a thing back then. Liverpool had a situation. If they didn't score despite having come back from 2 goals down, they'd get knocked out on away goals, and as the match headed into added time, it was heading towards that being the case. But all Liverpool needed was one more opportunity, and as soon as James Milner sent that ball in, you just kind of knew it was bound to happen. They never give up, ever. They keep going into the end. Even had the same mentality back in March in a cup final. Liverpool versus Chelsea in the Carabao Cup final, and this one was following a trend that had been developing over the years. They both met in the Carabao Cup and FA Cup final 2 seasons ago, and both matches went to penalties. So it looked for all the world like this edition would go down the same road too. Van Dijk scored to give Liverpool the lead, but it was ruled out for offside. Chelsea had the ball in the net, but it wasn't given for the same reason. And once again, penalties were starting to look like a real possibility. But Van Dijk wasn't prepared to go through the mental stress of a shootout like he did 2 years back. And with 3 minutes left to the end of extra time, Liverpool's skipper stepped up big time. Amazing! Van Dijk's goal incredibly sealed the win for Liverpool. There's just something about late goals that gets you off your feet, especially the ones you don't see coming, like Bayern did in 1999. Bayern Munich versus Manchester United in the 1999 Champions League final, and straight after kickoff, Bayern showed they weren't here to play games. They started on the front foot and scored first, and after that they kept the pressure completely on United all through. United managed to hang on, and coming into the 90th minute mark, in the Bayern players' minds they had done enough. They tried hard to score, but they'd take the 1-0 win in the final regardless. Thing is, United and Sir Alex used to have this thing they did called Fergie time, like a secret power whenever they were losing. And Sir Alex hit it the first time, and boom, United were somehow level. Surprising. With little time left, the mission for Bayern was to finish the game out in extra time. But it just never happened, because seconds later they got done by a baby-faced assassin. Ole! Blinked twice and United had pulled a Champions League comeback. What goes around comes around though. A couple of years later and they were on the receiving end of a last-minute comeback. In 2004, Jose Mourinho was on an underdog mission to conquer Europe with his Porto team. They'd made it to the quarter-finals against Manchester United. And after winning the first leg 2-1, they travelled to Manchester knowing they had a lead to protect. Thing is, away goals were still in play at that time, so when Paul Scholes scored early on to give United the lead, they were well on their way to knocking Porto out heading into the 90th minute mark. Even Mourinho didn't look as confident anymore. I'd bet Jose had already conceded defeat in his mind, but you see, he had players willing to fight to the end, and one of them was Francisco Costinha. The goal sent Porto to the Champions League semi-finals. Still not the most epic comeback in Champions League history though, and this one was a last-minute moment for the ages. FC Barcelona versus PSG in the Champions League round of 16 in 2017, and Barcelona was on the verge of history. Despite losing the first leg 4-0, they'd somehow found a way to tie the score on aggregate 5-1. But thanks to away goals, PSG was going to qualify heading into the final minutes of the game, and because of that, Barca's coach, Luis Enrique, threw everything at it. He even sent the goalie up. Barca had a chance with seconds left and the ref was all set to blow the whistle for full time when Neymar launched one into the box. It seemed like it had gone past everyone, but one guy hadn't given up, and moments later the Nou Camp was off their seats. PSG bottle job. Epic last-minute stuff. The greatest comeback in Champions League history, thanks in part to some shady refereeing too. Still, the situation required nerves of steel to slam this one, just like it did for CR7 in 2018, when he had the pressure of over 80,000 people depending on him on a big European night. Real Madrid versus Juventus in the Champions League quarter-finals, and after winning the first leg 3-0, Real Madrid were in pole position and all set to qualify. But Juventus didn't see it like that. They still believed they had a chance. So they came out fighting, and by 90 minutes the score was 3-3. The game was being played at Madrid's Bernabeu Stadium, and in front of a packed home crowd, they couldn't afford to slip up like that. So they created one more chance, and after Lucas Vazquez got fouled in the box, the ref gave the pen. There was no other person they were going to allow to take it. Once Ronaldo placed the ball on the spot, the pressure was on. If he didn't score, there would be extra time, meaning Madrid would have successfully dropped a bottle job. But let's just say Ronaldo wasn't sticking around to let that happen. Clutch CR7. Truth is, he's been doing this for years, as he did in 2018, this time for his national team. 88 minutes gone on the clock, Portugal's opening World Cup game versus Spain, and they were losing 3-2. Ronaldo had bagged both goals for Portugal, but right there it wasn't going to be enough to avoid a defeat. Unless he could come up with something soon, Portugal would start their group stage campaign with a loss, and then Portugal got a free kick outside the box. As he placed the ball down, Ronaldo knew what was at stake. The entire country was depending on him to make this shot count. So he took a deep breath, and in classic Ronaldo fashion, he had the millions around watching, screaming his name. Free kick goal in the World Cup, dying minute to seal a point too. Priceless. However, Ronaldo's been on the receiving end of some last-minute heartbreak too. In 2017, his biggest rival had him struggling to believe what had just happened. Real Madrid versus Barcelona in El Clasico, and this version had a lot more riding on it. Madrid was racing away to winning the league, and with a 4-point gap, if they won the match, they definitely have sealed the league title, meaning Barca had to win. Deep into stoppage time, the score was at 2-2, not the result Madrid wanted. But with a red card disadvantage, I'm pretty sure they would have taken the point and left. But for Barca, only a win was going to cut it, so they went on one final attack again, and you won't believe what happened next. I remember watching this one and thinking, what the heck just happened, and how? Still though, Messi's goal wasn't trying to get them into the Champions League, like this next dude was. Liverpool versus West Brom in 2021, and this match was a series of games that would decide the season for Liverpool. They'd failed to defend their title, and even worse, were in danger of not qualifying for the Champions League. Yet somehow they'd managed to string a series of runs together that meant if they could win at West Brom, Champions League qualification would still be a possibility. As the clock hit 90 though, the story was different. The score was 1-1 and the stubborn West Brom defence just wouldn't budge. The last kick of the game, and Klopp decided to send his goalie up for the corner. And honestly, all of this just felt made up. Liverpool's goalie, Alisson, scored to send the club to the Champions League. Whoa! Alisson's goal sent Liverpool to Europe's Premier Club competition, but Ivan Provedel's goal was trying to keep them in it. Lazio versus Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, and deep into stoppage time, Lazio was losing at home. The tactics had gone out the window at this point. Coach Maurizio Sarri even allowed the goalie Ivan Provedel to go up to contest for the corner. But the delivery was poor first time, and that should have been it. Lazio though recycled the ball out wide and put a cross in, and the dude who got his head to this one was the least expected man in the stadium. Striker's goal from a goalie. Ivan Provedel came big. This should have been enough to top the list, but you see guys, at number 1, it's a plot twist. This one isn't about a goal being scored, it's the one that never went in. The 2022 World Cup final added time and extra time stoppage time. Both teams were tied at 3-3, and each team knew the ref would blow the whistle for full time at any second. But just before the end, France had the last chance of the tournament. The ball broke into the Argentine half, and after a moment of miscalculation from the Argentine defence, Randal Kolo Muani was in. All he had to do was score, and he'd make France champions of the world. And as he pulled the shot, the entire French bench was on their feet waiting for the net to bulge and celebrate. But it didn't happen because of one man. What a moment, what a save, what a guy. Emi Martinez's save kept Argentina in the competition and helped them win it. Crazy how after this, Martinez became so good that FIFA legit brought a new set of rules to the competition just to reduce his powers. The guy was a cheat code. And it wasn't just him. Even Neymar had figured out a new hack in the game the law guys wanted to get rid of. And you can see all of that in the next video.